The next issue that we talk about is the 1994 crime bill. So this was something that I thought we were going to get a little bit more play from, and we really didn't. And Donald Trump goes through here in this clip. He's talking about the 1994 crime bill and the First Step Act. And then factcheck.org came out with a fact check on Joe Biden. But before we get into some of that stuff, let's listen to the clip. This was Donald Trump, Joe Biden last night talking about the 1994 crime bill and the First Step Act.
President Trump, you have 2 minutes. Why should Americans trust you over your opponent to deal with racism?
He did a crime bill, 1994, where you call them super predators, African Americans, the super predators, and they've never forgotten it. They've never forgotten it, Joe.
No, sir, it's his 2 minutes.
So you did that, and they call you super predator, and I'm letting people out of jail now that you have treated the African American population community, you have treated the black community about as bad as anybody in this country. You did the and that's why, if you look at the polls, I'm doing better than any Republican has done in a long time, because they saw what you did. You call them super predators, and you've called them worse than that, because you look back at your testimony over the years, you've called them a lot worse than that. As far as the church is concerned, and as far as the generals are concerned, we just got the support of 250 military leaders and generals, total support. Law enforcement, almost every law enforcement group in the United States. I have Florida, I have Texas, I have Ohio, I have Portland. The sheriff just came out today and he said, I support President Trump. I don't think you have any law enforcement. You can't even say the word law enforcement, because if you say those words, you're going to lose all of your radical left supporters. And why aren't you saying those words, Joe? Why don't you say the words law enforcement? Because you know what? If they called us in Portland, we would put out that fire in a half an hour, but they won't do it because they're run by radical left Democrats. If you look at Chicago, if you look at any place you want to look, Seattle, they heard we were coming in the following day, and they put up their hands, and we got back Seattle. Minneapolis, we got it back, Joe, because we believe in law and order, but you don't. The top 10 cities and just about the top 40 cities are run by Democrats and in many cases radical left. And they've got you wrapped around their finger, Joe, to a point where you don't want to say anything about law and order. And I'll tell you what, the people of this country want and demand law and order, and you're afraid to even say it.
All right. So yeah, that was a big, long answer. Trump got his 2 minutes. And, I think he actually did a pretty good job of fleshing out a lot of what we talked about yesterday, right? We went through Joe Biden's record. He had sponsored or co-sponsored or co-authored or authored a number of different bills all throughout the 80s and into the 90s. We had the Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 86 and 88. We have the Comprehensive Act. Earlier than that, we've got the 1994 crime bill. We have specific sentencing reforms that highly penalized, the crack cocaine epidemic, which really did hit a huge portion of the African-American community throughout the United States back in the 80s. And so Trump is kind of on this, this sort of scattered rant about what Joe Biden's record looks like. And there is some truth to that, in my opinion. I mean, we went through this yesterday. Joe Biden has a very long record on criminal justice and incarcerating people and passing laws that would help enable states and governments and attorneys generals and civil forfeiture laws and all of that. Don't need to rehash that out again today, but there is some fact checking going on here, right? Donald Trump said specifically that he got the endorsement from the sheriff of Portland. Well, not really, because we see that the sheriff in Portland doesn't support him. And of course, that was right there on Twitter the following hour. He says, Sheriff Reese says in tonight's presidential debate, the president said that the Portland sheriff supports him as the Multnomah County sheriff. I've never supported Donald Trump and will never support him. And, there were some other things that we were seeing here. Donald Trump, and I had not heard this, but Donald Trump said that Joe Biden called black people these super predators. And I thought that was a Hillary Clinton thing. I thought that that's what she said, because she got beaten up pretty badly about that. Now, she was also in the White House when Joe Biden was a senator. A lot of presidents were in the White House when Joe Biden was a senator. And she said specifically super predators during that time. I think she may have been in the Senate. I don't remember specifically what she had to do. But when Donald Trump accused Joe Biden of that, I just had not heard that. So we tried to look that up. And I'm not, well, let's see. We have another clip here from Joe Biden. This was back in the U.S. Senate. So we wanted to see, could we find this super predator clip? Could we see him saying this thing? Because I had not heard it. And we found a clip, but let's see if he actually uses that word.
They will, or a portion of them will, become the predators 15 years from now. And Madam President, we have predators on our streets that society has, in fact, in part because of its neglect, created. Again, it does not mean because we created them that we somehow forgive them or do not take them out of society to protect my family and yours from them. They are beyond the pale, many of those people. Beyond the pale. And it's a sad commentary on society. We have no choice but to take them out of society.
Which, I mean, that statement, first time I actually heard that, that's basically the opposite of what we do here at our firm, right? We have a lot of people who get in trouble, who hire us, and we work with them. I would never say that they are beyond the pale. They're human beings. They're going through a difficult situation. They have life circumstances that many of us didn't grow up with or didn't experience in our lives. They're good people, the vast majority of them. A lot of people have drug problems. They've got family problems, alcohol problems. They've been abused. They've been just beaten to death in the course of their life. And their culture that they've been, kind of brought around in is something that is helping contribute to their delinquency or their criminality. And those people are not beyond the pale. They're not broken. They're good people who just need a little bit of help, a little bit of coaching. And so what we want to do is make sure that the criminal justice system reflects that. Talk about it all the time on this channel. Humanity. Why are we lacking in such humanity? It's not okay, and I totally disagree with what Joe Biden said right there, but I didn't hear him call anybody a super predator. That was actually reserved for Hillary Clinton, which we did find. So I was trying to find what that is. Now, I don't think it matters either way, super predator or predator. I mean, he's talking about the same type of thing here, but we just wanted to get clear on that because I thought Trump was a little bit off, at least in relation to that term. So here is Hillary Clinton, who was the one who actually used the term.
To big drug cartels. They are not just gangs of kids anymore. They are often the kinds of kids that are called super predators. No conscience, no empathy. We can talk about why they ended up that way, but first we have to bring them to heel. And the president has asked the FBI to launch a very
Yeah, and she got a lot of flack for that back when she was running for president. So, this was something that really was bipartisan. It's not a left or right thing. Back in the 1980s and the 1990s, there was a really big push to, fight the war on drugs. Both the Democrats and the Republicans were running full steam with this. The Democrats actually tried to seize this mantle of being weak on crime. The Republicans, prior to Bill Clinton, had a lot of electoral success by saying the Democrats were weak on crime. They took that issue over, and then the Democrats tried to seize it when they got into power. Bill Clinton took the White House, and then Joe Biden was in the Senate, and he was the author of the Senate 1994 crime bill. Joe Biden actually authored that bill, and we went through that yesterday, so I'm not going to rehash that. But the point, Trump's point remains. Joe Biden is somebody who, for the last about two and a half decades, and longer than that, when he's been in the Senate, has been very pro justice. Pro lock people up, pro civil forfeiture, pro arrest people, put them in prison for first offense, crack cocaine offenses, and all these, mandatory minimum sentencings. And a lot of the things that we see today in our justice system were all passed as part of the 1994 crime bill, which the biggest crime bill that has ever been passed in the United States. We're talking about 100,000 new police officers. We're talking about 356 pages. We've got, over $5 billion or $10 billion for different things like building private prisons or building prisons, or, a lot went into that bill. And so Donald Trump was trying to flesh some of that out. And, I don't know that the public really picked up on that. I don't know if the African-American community picked up on that. There were some falsities in Donald Trump's soliloquy, as there usually are, but this was something that was important, and he's sort of right on that. Joe Biden has a lot of history in the criminal justice space, and I'm glad that was at least discussed. I don't think it was highly effective, but it was good that it was discussed because it is important. What I was concerned about is that we were going to see a lot of these senators, a lot of these people now, because justice reform is kind of a popular movement now. People are seeing that there are these major problems that have been in our system for decades They want some reform. They want some changes. And so I was sort of the mindset that Joe Biden was going to come out and disavow the police. He didn't do that. He kind of kept mum on his prior record, didn't really defend it or talk much about it. And that's what we're left with. So not much more there. We're going to see if this 1994 crime bill or if Joe Biden's record come up, any further. But there wasn't a lot of detail on that. I think in large part because Donald Trump's not particularly good at sort of reciting a lot of those facts. If you remember, if you've been following the political scene for a while, there was a debate back in, I want to say it was 2008. I think Mitt Romney was running in the presidential primaries. And when he was debating against John McCain, there was a scene when he actually went through and he listed like 6 to 8 facts. He said, well, the budget here is this, it should be this. And the people who, the percentage is this, and this is this. And he was very, kind of a technocrat. That's kind of how he did things. And that type of presentation may have been more effective, but Donald Trump is not like that and not even close to that. So we saw that last night. He brings up a couple little nuggets here and there, but ultimately I don't think it really helped anybody understand Joe Biden's record as it relates to criminal justice reform. And Chris Wallace did basically no job of pushing them to, answer those questions like packing the court or any of those other things. So that was the other little nugget of the criminal justice reform, just a short about 2 minutes that Donald Trump brought up. Couple falsities there. Sheriff didn't endorse him. Joe Biden, that we were able to find, did not say super predator. Not saying he didn't, but that was a Hillary Clinton thing. So Donald Trump may have gotten those 2 little nuggets confused.